Hi, so welcome back. If you've been tuning into some of the sessions earlier, then welcome back to the live sessions here at Future Decoded in London today. My name's Richard Hopkins.
I'm Gary Whittaker.
And we're going to be looking at some, what we're calling Xamarin and Azure Complete, where we're going to try and build an entire back-end and front-end mobile app using Xamarin in 30 minutes.
That's going to be good, isn't it?
It's going to be pretty tough.
But to be fair, Xamarin lets us do that.
And how many times have we practiced this already, Gary?
A few.
A few?
Yeah, I've done it. Well, you haven't. You haven't done it.
I think Gary's being a bit optimistic here. We haven't really practiced at all.
No,
so
I've practiced. You haven't.
we've had a look in isolation, haven't we? But
Yeah.
we've never tried it together. So
It's going to work. I mean, we're going to use some of the latest stuff with Xamarin. We've got some nice plugins which are going to help us speed through this process. So the idea is we're going to build an Azure backend. I'm going to build a project, and let me just kick off starting that up if I can get my screen to come on. That's better.
there we go.
And I've got Xamarin Studio running here. So I'm going to be doing this on a Mac in Xamarin Studio.
And I'm going to be on my Surface Book, so I'm going to be running Visual Studio.
Yeah. So I'm going to kick off by creating a new solution.
Awesome.
In Xamarin Studio. So we get the new solution wizard even. Let me just get this to fire up. There we go. So what we're going to do here, we're going to do a multi-platform application. So this is just, if you've got Xamarin Studio, you get a few options. We could have done a native Xamarin application.
Right.
But we've actually chosen to do a Xamarin Forms application. Do you want to just give background what the difference is between the two, Richard?
Yeah, absolutely. So Xamarin Native Platform is, if you like, the first framework that Xamarin created. And this allows you to build native applications using a single unified code base for your business logic. So you're sharing all of the kind of stuff that isn't your UI code. But your UI implementation, because you can leverage the native APIs of each individual platform, then you can basically refine your UI, really build it out to really customize it for different platforms. But what that requires you to do is to create a platform-specific implementation in the UI layer. Now, Xamarin Forms is something that we introduced about 2 years ago, and this enables you to basically not only share your business logic code, but also share your UI through an abstracted API that then renders down to the native individual controls of the platform.
So that basically means you can share a lot of the code.
Exactly. So you can get your code sharing up to 100%.
Yeah, exactly. We've as a company, we've done about 25 projects in the last year. The last 10 of those have all been Xamarin Forms, and we were getting about 99% code sharing.
Fantastic.
Basically just using what comes up the solution out of the box. So I'm just about to create that solution. So I'm going to use a portable class library. I could actually use a shared library where the code's shared between the various projects, but I'm going to do a BCL. I'm going to target Android and iOS. We'll also share it across the Visual Studio, and we'll make sure we plug in the other projects as well.
Okay.
And I'm going to use XAML for my user interface
Oh,
files.
good idea, yeah.
And this makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, it gives you that nice separation of kind of the layout of the view and the underlying behavior.
So anybody who's done WPF programming would be so. We've got.
Oh, Cortana's just interrupted me, sorry.
Very good, Cortana.
Let me mute my laptop so we don't get that happening again.
So I just wondered what was going on there. So we've got the ability there to use XAML, because if you've used WPF, you've got that familiarity with XAML, or Silverlight, you've got that. So it's a slightly different XAML, but you can just pick it up pretty quickly.
Right.
So I'm going to go across to create that. Creating the folio. I'm actually going to put this in Git as well, so I've got the ability to share it. We've actually got VSTS set up.
Oh, we're going to use Visual Studio Team Services for the repo, right?
Yeah, so we've got that set up already. I'm going to share that in there, and you'll be able to access that code. So now you hit the create button, and hopefully it will go off and actually create a project. So it's just producing a solution, and it's created basically 3 projects in the solution. It's got a profile, which is the shared PCL library. This is our common code. It's created a bit already for us. It's created an app XAML and a profiles page, which I'll get rid of in a minute, because we're actually going to do an MVVM approach with this.
Oh, okay.
So I think they give us a model, a view model, and actually a few views. And it's also created 2 other projects. It's created a Droid project and an iOS project. And these have just got a few little tiny bits of code in them to basically initialize Xamarin Forms.
So if I'm sharing my code across all the different platforms and I'm writing my code once, why have I got a Droid project and an iOS project there? What's going on there?
Well, you're actually basically building an iOS application and a Droid application. So you actually have to have some platform-specific code.
Okay.
But it's generated for you, so you don't have to think about it too much. And all this is actually doing is it's running up on Android. It creates a main activity, and within that you're just initializing your Xamarin
Oh,
Forms.
so this is just kind of bootstrapping
Yeah,
the
it's bootstrap
actual...
effectively.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
So we're not actually really going to, aside from a tiny bit of code, we're not going to really worry about these two bits in the rest of the project. So I've got a nicely formatted project here. It's got a Xamarin Forms plugin in the shared code, or in the PCL. And I'm going to add in a few more packages now, because we're actually going to be dealing with Azure. And we're going to use some Azure back-end stuff. And there's a few plugins which are already written for us to actually help us work with Azure. So if I just do a quick search on here. So we've got the, in fact I should have searched for Azure Xamarin, that would have found things a lot quicker.
Might find things a bit quicker.
Yeah, because there's an awful lot of Azure packages out. So we searched for Azure Xamarin. What did I just do there? I hit the wrong button, but never mind. Let me decline that and start again. We've got a few packages we can actually use, and we're going to use two packages from Azure, and we are going to use Azure Services Storage. No, actually, we're not going to do that. We're going to use. I can't actually see what I'm looking for here at the moment.
Are we using the SQLite store?
Yeah, we are. Let me see if I can just find that directly.
Yeah, maybe if you type SQLite store, it
SQLite
might
store.
give you that
So
that package.
well, that's interesting. Oh, well, that's there we go.
That's the one. Oh, right, okay.
We need the Xamarin Mobile Client SDK.
It's got a slightly different name in Xamarin Studio than it does in Visual Studio.
Yes.
I think Xamarin Studio has a different way of describing it.
That's right. So we found it now. The demo God's Wings filing.
We got there in the end.
Yes. So I'm going to add that in. I'm also going to add the SQLite one in, which I'll find in a second.
Right.
And what I'm also going to add in is a let me just accept that license. Is a really useful helper service, which is written by one of your colleagues.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's the Azure, the Xamarin Azure Helpers package.
Yeah.
So this was written by one of my colleagues, Mike James, who's our European developer evangelist, and he put that together really to simplify the process of integrating with the back end. So people often think that being able to write an app and have all that kind of integration to Azure, to be able to pull stuff out of a database, to be able to do things like offline support. So, mobile apps, we have a lot of connectivity issues. Walking around the UK, walk into the middle of a forest, you're not going to get any signal. So if you're taking that app out into the wild, you need to be able to cache that data offline and then push it back to the cloud, later on, or have that kind of offline capability. And also be able to sync your data between different devices so that everybody's up to date. And I think the package that Gary's talking about now was written to really take that kind of fundamental principle and boil it down to the most economical, most efficient way of implementing it. So it wraps the Azure SQLite store package that's also available through NuGet, and I think it boils it. I heard the other day, in fact I actually saw a talk that Mike was giving, and he was able to implement all of that stuff, the offline store, syncing between devices, in 5 lines of code. Is that true?
5 or 6.
Yeah.
It's pretty much that, and we'll actually do that now. We're going to do this. So I'm going to add this package in now. It's one of the 2 packages. So we need to add the forms one, and we'll also need to add the helpers in. So what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to hand the screen over to you, because what we need to work with on this is we need a bit of Azure.
Yeah.
So we actually need an Azure app service. And we're going to add some data to that Azure app service as well.
Yeah, let's do a bit of that. So let's say bye-bye to Cortana, because she seems to keep popping up. I think probably because I'm talking right next to my microphone and I occasionally mention things that she might be interested in. But so now we're going to look at the Azure portal. So what I've got here is something called Easy Tables. So I've created my app service in the Azure portal, and now I'm going to create a database. Now, under normal circumstances, you might think that creating a database in Azure is a kind of complex task. You've got to hook a load of stuff up. you've got things to worry about, like sort of maybe providing a web service to be able to access that data, or something that maybe an SDK that you might be using on the front end can integrate with. But with Easy Tables, I mean, Easy Tables really is well named. What we do, in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something that I was trying to think. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I was trying to think, if my daughter needed to build a back-end database that was consumable for a mobile app, could I come up with a way that even she would be able to implement? And I think I found one. So with Easy Tables, I can literally create my database from just a comma-separated file. So I've got a file here in Excel that I've created. It's got a little bit of data in it. I've got some columns.
Some familiar names in there.
Yeah, there are 1 or 2 interesting people in there. So I'm going to now go to this option to be able to upload.
So just a second, Richard, while you're actually getting that uploaded, this is Azure Mobile Services?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the app service.
So if people wanted to find out a bit more, then they could actually go back and look at my previous talk I did on TechDays Online.
Oh, awesome.
Because I actually created one of these using the app services the app mobile app helper,
right.
Which actually creates it all for you effectively and generates this.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Yeah, I might go and watch that myself actually. So you can see that I've selected that comma separated file that I just created in Microsoft Excel, and it's already taken the file name as the name of the table. I can change that if I want to, and it's also parsed that file, and it's been able to determine the different columns that go into my table, which we can see here in the Excel spreadsheet. So it's already intelligently worked out what my table schema is going to be. Now I'm just going to change one of these settings because I want this rating to be a number as opposed to a string. Okay, and now I'm just going to hit the Start Upload button. And I get this thing saying import is in progress. And it's successfully imported. And now you can see on the left-hand side, I've got this new table called data. So if I click on that, and just give that a second to actually load. I should say we're in a big conference hall at the moment here at Future Decoded, and we're using the kind of conference floor Wi-Fi for this. So it's not super fast because there are literally thousands of people walking around with their mobile phones all on the same Wi-Fi. So if things do run a bit slowly, then forgive us if you have to wait a few seconds for stuff to appear. So I'm going to maximize that, and you can see that I've got my table.
That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, it's actually amazing. And if I actually go into, let's open a new tab here, and let's actually paste in a URL, and let's just take that back to where I want it to be.
So you're now directly accessing the web service, the Azure App Service, and going directly to the table.
I am.
And so...
and what a time for my Wi-Fi to let me down.
Oh, indeed. So the question mark Sumo API at the end, that's something which I think catches a lot of people out. That's used, if you do ever use this and you want to directly connect to a table, as long as you put that bit on the end, you will actually get the data back from the table.
Absolutely. And there we go. So the Wi-Fi caught up with us finally, and we can see here that I've now got a load of JSON. So if I wanted, just to call the web service directly, here's another example that I had open in another tab. And I've got here, a simple query where I'm just asking for a name that matches Richard Hopkins, my own name, and it's pulling out that record in JSON format. So if I wanted to use something like HTTP client, I could just go off, do a getString async, pass in the URL, pull it down, deserialize it with something like JSON.NET. Bob's your uncle.
Excellent stuff. And there's also a whole load of stuff available in Azure mobile app services. When you actually create, using Helper, it actually creates some code for you. You can use that as a back end and do it. That's slightly more complex than we're actually going to use now.
Right.
So I've just copied that URL across, and I'm actually
let's switch back to your laptop.
So I've actually done part of that 4 lines of code we were talking about, and hopefully it'll come up in a second. Let me just bring it up to full screen. So this is the app CS of my application. You can see I've also added a few more bits in here. I've added a models folder and a view models folder. And I've added a model and a view while you were talking about that. I have managed to get all the packages in now. There's some interesting things going on the Wi-Fi where I wasn't getting all the packages actually showing up.
Right.
But I've managed to find them all. So what I've done here is I've added in just a few bits of code. I've added this iEasy mobile service client, which is the app service helpers we were talking about. I've initialized that by creating it, and I've actually initialized it with your URL.
Oh, okay. So this is the endpoint that was created when I created that easy table. Yeah.
Exactly. And also what I've done is to register the table, the profile table we're just looking at.
Yeah.
And then I find the schema. And we could actually register a lot more tables at this point,
Okay.
but for this purposes, we're only going to register a table. So how does it know what that table is and how to use it? So you can see it's just registering a class there. So we've got the class in our models, it's a profile. And the trick here is we're using the app service helpers again, and we've made it a subclass of entity data.
Okay.
And that's basically a part of the app service helpers, which handles all the data stuff for us. It gives us a lot of bits under the skin we can rely on. So some things like conflict resolution and things that really handle. So we talked about my James Pierce Bogan, a fellow Xamarin MVP, was instrumental in all that bit of it.
He did actually, yeah. I think I forgot to mention Pierce earlier, so sorry, Pierce.
That's really good stuff. So you can see this matches the schema you had in your CSV file, including changing that to an int. So I now need to hook this back into something more useful. And what I've got here is a view model.
Right.
And I've done a little bit of extra bit coding here, but the primary bit, the fifth line of code is this one.
Right.
So again, I'm using the abstraction helpers, and all I have to do is, as the initializer for this class, is subclass the base and pass in the client, and it works really well.
And that's all the code?
That was all the code. So that would actually have given us data back.
Right,
So that would have handled all the getting the data, sending data back, and it would work. So, but that's not particularly useful because we need to plug it into something. But we've got our view model, we've got our model. So now, you've been busy keying away some view data in here.
I have actually. While you've been talking, I've been working on a view.
So let me pass it over. I can see they've popped up there. Let me pass them over here.
Yeah, absolutely. I've almost finished actually. I've just got a couple more lines to add.
Okay,
Let me just stick the little cable into my laptop.
Yep. So this again proves that we can share code between Xamarin Studio and Visual Studio. We've just got it in a repository and we can check out those branches. So what we've got there?
So I'm creating an image cell. So what I've got here is I've got a list view that I've created. So this is just a scrolling list of information because that's how we're going to be presenting this data. And I'm just at the moment doing the image cell layout. So this is what is going to be in each individual cell of that table.
Okay, so the app service helpers in that view model create us a set of bindings we can use. So there's an items repository there which allows us to bind to the item source. And that has within it named all the fields we've actually got from that speaker model.
Absolutely. So yeah, that data that was coming down from Easy Tables, you can see here we're binding that data to the underlying property in the view model class.
Okay, and you've also bound to selected item, which is another part of that view model.
I have, yeah, absolutely, because I want to be able to actually capture the item that I'm selecting.
Okay.
And then be able to manipulate that in my code, in my view model. And the great thing about Xamarin Forms, that in actual fact doesn't even happen in native iOS or in native applications, is when you do that selection, because you're binding to an observable collection or a list, what you actually get back is the object itself. So you can then manipulate it, look at all the properties, and be able to sort of pass that through, perhaps to create another view around the details. And it's such a quick and an easy way. If you were to do this in iOS, what you'd probably get back is the index of the row, and then you'd have to go off and query the data structure yourself and be able to sort of pass it and do all that.
That's really cool. So if I come back to my screen,
yeah, let's go back to yours.
I can show the that actual binding we've got in the view model. Actually, I pulled the wrong part of the cable out.
Oh, pulled the wrong cable out. There we go.
That wouldn't help, would it? So we'll go and talking to yourselves while
I'll just sort of cover for you while you're pretending to. Yeah, you can see we're really high tech here today. We're actually passing the cable to plug our laptop in backwards and forwards between.
But it works. So this is back to this view model.
Yeah.
So I've actually got here a property, which is just click on the right bit. I was on the view model when I started plugging in. But
okay.
So we've got the selected item here.
Yeah.
We've got a setter for it, and all I'm doing is setting the current the main page to a new navigation page.
Yep.
And pushing that with the value that you're passing in.
So that's quite crafty. You're actually using the setter of the property, which, because it's bound to the control in the UI, as soon as you select something, the setter gets called because it's a two-way data binding, and then you can just, rather than actually sort of doing anything, you can just use that to trigger the navigation.
Yeah.
It's quite a nice shorthand way of doing it.
Yeah. So what we've also created, we've got another piece of XAML here, just a very simple piece which actually displays a bit more detail on each of the things. And it's just simple things, the binding, and I've got a few buttons on this as well, which I've just plugged in.
Right.
I have actually plugged a little bit of extra code into this as well behind. So I'm actually, this is quite an interesting thing though, because this is
what
actually
was that?
Yeah,
something just popped up there.
So because I'm using the Xamarin Studio, I've actually got the XAML preview option.
Oh, that's new.
Yeah, so this actually allows me to see, to some extent, what I'm rendering. It doesn't work 100% with bindings, but it's getting there, and it's really useful to see the layout of the buttons.
So this actually allows you to see the XAML that you're writing and preview it.
Yeah.
Before, so that you know roughly what it's going to look like when you see it on the device.
This is actually quite good because it also shows the fact that we can see.
Oh, wow.
So this is the iOS rendering of it, and this is the Android rendering of it.
Oh, that's pretty clever. Yeah, that's awesome. I've only seen this a few times before, but it's that's impressive the way it switches between the two different platforms.
And it's also good to note that it's rendering the buttons very differently. So for Android we've got Android style buttons, for iOS we've got iOS style buttons.
Awesome.
And I haven't had to write any extra code for that. It's just there.
Oh, it's just part of the IDE.
Button. So I've got. If we had a bit more time, I would do this full MVVM with commands and actually bind it into the model. But I've actually got some code behind for the minute.
Right.
So I've added a few buttons here.
Well, this is going to be kind of familiar to people who say come from like a WinForms
background.
background.
WinForms, even WPF, a lot of this was done.
Absolutely, yeah, just use the code behind. So yeah, as Gary was saying, I mean, if we built out this properly, we'd probably use a full kind of MVVM architectural pattern. We'd have all of our view models, and views and services set up. Because we're knocking this up quickly today, we're going to do it. We're going to cheat a little bit and put a lot of it in the code behind.
So I'll keep this in, some of this in quickly. These are actually really simple. So when I was adding the packages in, I actually added another package in because I thought it'd be a bit of fun. Which was, if I can just find my packages, I'm struggling to see on my screen in front of me, so it's got very small. But I've got on here another plugin. This is actually one written by another colleague of yours, James Montemagno.
Oh, right, okay.
And I think people owe a great deal of thanks to James. If you look on mods.es, you'll find tons of packages for Xamarin, very useful ones. This is one which allows you to do text-to-speech cross-platform.
Okay.
So if you want to do text-to-speech on individual platforms, it's really different. Android has one text-to-speech platform. Apple has a completely different. Windows has a completely different one. It's quite difficult to code.
Right. I think there's. I think James Montemagno and Hi Mods, if you're watching this broadcast, has written quite a number of these plugins. So there's things like cross-platform maps, camera control. File system abstraction. So reading and writing to the file system, doing that I/O is really difficult to do cross-platform because on Windows you've got what do they call it? Isolated storage. You've got a little bit more freedom on Android. On iOS, you've got those kind of magic folders that you have to use, and so every platform uses a different approach to write to the file system. But if you're using one of Motz's plugins, then you can just make a single call and it will just write you can just say, I want to write data out to a file, and it'll just do it for you. I want to create a folder, it'll just do it for you, no matter what platform the code's running on.
So what I've done here is I've used that text-to-speech in it, and all I need to do to actually call it is call the current instance of cross-text-to-speech, that's a tongue twister, and pass it in what I want to show. So I'm actually going to get it to speak the description of the profile. Profile. And that's one line of code.
One line of code to do that on iOS, Android, and Windows.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah, so easy. The other thing I've done here also is to if you click on the web button, and if the URL is a properly formed URL, has HTTP at the start.
Right.
So we're not doing major checking on it, but we're just checking to see the website there. I'll then actually use the device open URL, which is part of Xamarin, normal Xamarin forms.
Okay.
Xamarin, it's a very straightforward thing. Device specific open URL, passing in a new URI with that profile. So that actually should open the website.
Nice.
So And I'll come on to some of the rest of this code in a minute, but I've checked all this in, so hopefully you can actually run it up on your emulator.
Shall I see if I can build it?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me a second before you pass the cable over.
Okay, I'll do that.
I'll just check this out of the repo.
Okay, that's a good idea. You ready to do that? I'm
Just go into Team Explorer and just make sure that's okay. Wi-Fi is a little bit slow, but it's coming down.
Okay, so we've used Visual Services Team Services VSTS. I'm accessing it as a GitHub on Xamarin Studio. You're accessing it using the native Visual Studio client, and hopefully you've got the code there.
I believe that I do. If I open up my... There we go, all in there.
Excellent.
So, now let's see if we can build it. So I'm going to build it for Android first.
Okay.
So let's just hit the build button.
Right, I'm going to get it running for iOS while you're doing that.
I think the broadcast resolution's slightly chopped off the bottom of my emulator for some reason, but
there we go.
beggars can't be choosers. Now it's calling out to Azure to pull this data down, and there it is. And if I scroll up and down, you can see, yep, application's working. So this is hitting that easy tables, the easy tables
that's
table.
the data we saw earlier.
That's the data we saw in Excel that went up to easy tables. We created that table. We're now pulling it down. It's also going off and fetching all those images for us. Shall I click through to the next screen?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's have a look at Gary. There's a fine, handsome-looking man right at the top there. So let's click through to that one, and there's Gary Whittaker.
So how did I get a rating of awesome?
I mean, would you ever get anything else? So, I mean, there's a bunch of things we can do here. Shall I try the? Do you have a website?
I do, yes. Yeah.
Should we try clicking through and see if we can go to it?
See if I've got it.
Okay, let's click on that and going through to appzib.com. I think that's your company.
It is indeed, yeah. So,
and there we go. There's the appzib website.
Excellent stuff.
Awesome.
Okay, so we also had the speak button there. We could have done that. The audio is a little bit of a problem at the moment, but it would have spoken out the description of my information. So that's really clever stuff. So if we come over to me, normally we could actually do this on the Visual Studio, but the connectivity issues in here is a little bit issue. But so I'm running the iOS emulator.
Okay.
And this is the iOS version of the same application. And if we go through to you, we can see your information.
Oh, my goodness.
And you're truly amazing, apparently.
Fantastic.
And we've got the buttons on the bottom again. We could do the website. But you notice I've added this other button on here. And it's how happy.
How happy.
Yeah, so you saw that earlier. I'm just going to bring up.
You know what? I don't look terribly happy in
You
that
don't
picture.
look at that. So I've actually written some code, which I've actually pulled from a website I use for something else. And it basically is using cognitive services, the old Project Oxford.
Oh, okay.
To do what they call emotion services. So this is code. So this is showing how you can reuse code, because this is code I've written for something else completely entirely. It's actually an ASP.NET website. It's C#, so it's easy enough to use. And it basically calls the emotion services passing in a URL of an image.
Okay.
Well, we have a URL of an image in our application.
That's in our table, yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm going to hook this in. Well, actually, I've already hooked it into our detail page to pass in the URL of that image, and they'll pass it to the emotion services, and they'll get a result back. Now, the emotion services analyse the picture for all faces, so it potentially could have more than one face on there, so we might get more than one result. So most of this code is about averaging how happy people are. I do another demo where I had to take a picture of the audience, and if they're not happy enough, they can't leave. But this, I'm sure we'll be happy enough to do today.
I hope you'll let me leave our booth today if I'm not happy enough.
So, again, this is really simple to hook into our application. All I've done is call that emotion service with the get average happy score, passing in our avatar from our profile, because we've got that in our head, and I get a score back, which I then have another function which I convert into a more meaningful message, and I plug into a label we've got on the form.
Okay.
Straight as that. So if I actually run that up, if I can find where I've hidden the simulator, so let's see how happy Richard is.
Ooh.
Not that happy.
Not very happy at all.
I know, so Peter Freeze is probably a little bit happier. He's probably really pleased to be called awesome.
Oh yeah.
So he's quite happy.
Looks pretty pleased with himself.
but we always know that Jason is someone who's never particularly happy.
Jason Smith, by the way, in case you don't know, is really the genius behind Xamarin Forms.
Yeah. He has every right to be happy.
He does have every right to be happy, but I would imagine that being the technical lead for Xamarin Forms is a pretty tough job.
Yeah, so let's see how happy Jason is. Not that happy.
A little bit more happy than me, though.
Yes, you're probably happier now.
Probably gets better pay.
Yeah. So we have just done, we've created an Azure web service.
We have.
We've populated it with data.
Yep.
We've created a new Xamarin application.
Right.
We've plugged in a view model.
Right.
A model.
Right.
We've added some code behind the views.
Yep.
Added some views in. We had very straightforward bits of XAML, very easy to follow. We've shown how they look on the screen. We can see how that actually rendered. Obviously, we didn't get all the images because we didn't have any data in there on the preview.
Right.
We've plugged in a couple of plugins. So obviously with that Project Oxford stuff, the emotion API, I had to also plug in a couple of extra plugins for that.
Okay.
So they are the cognitive services, which is still called Project
And those
Oxford.
just are available through NuGet with like all the other packages. Great.
You do need to sign up for cognitive services, but
Okay.
also you do get some free time
Right.
and free
Right.
So for most little test projects, you can make really good use of it. There's loads of APIs on the cognitive services, vision APIs and all sorts of things. Audio.
I think there's one that tells you how old you look, isn't there?
Yeah, there is indeed. And we could have plugged that in as well.
Okay.
So we've done all that, we've plugged in the code, and we've done it in half an hour.
30 minutes.
I could learn to understand you much better if I...
And even Cortana wants to chime in before the end. So speaking of the end, I think that's it for us for today. Thanks very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's session. Thanks, Gary, for joining us. Thanks for your expertise and this amazing demo. And hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.